Was I just the same before the accident?
It wasn't any accident. Everything we did it on purpose.
How's it going, guys? Welcome back to my channel and time for another episode of Luke's Reviews. On today's video, Maggie Gyllenhaal has assembled an all-star cast, including the recent Oscar winner Jessie Buckley, for a revamped take on a classic monster tale in The Bride. Set in 1930s America, Frank, aka Frankenstein's monster, has made his way to New York City with one specific goal in mind. He's lonely and is set on not necessarily finding a mate, but creating one. Teaming with Dr. Euphronius, they dig up the body of a young woman who was in the midst of an identity crisis before she died. When reinvigorated with life, she proves to be a ball of chaos, going on the run with Frank and proving herself to be the bride. I wasn't dazzled by Maggie Gyllenhaal's directorial debut in The Lost Daughter. I found the whole thing rather uneventful and mundane. And clearly, she must have been listening, because her follow-up to The Lost Daughter is The Bride, and it is the complete polar opposite of that film. This is a crazed wildfire of a movie, but unfortunately, just like an actual wildfire, it is almost entirely out of control. Without wanting to sound too harsh, this may have been too big of a swing for Maggie Gyllenhaal as a filmmaker to tackle in only her second feature. Possibly for any emerging filmmaker to tackle. There are some large and bold storytelling beats, particularly to do with the bride as an actual character, and I just thought that the film as a whole was really lacking in that level of finesse for us to be able to have a clear picture as to what is going on. Everything in the film is so loud and so noisy, but the chaos only really works as a style of filmmaking if you are able to kind of push through the noise and uncover what is going on at its core. You never get that with The Bride. Instead, the whole film is just a melting pot of so many different ideas, themes, tones, genres. You look at it on one hand and it can be a part Bonnie and Clyde wreck the town kind of road trip. You got a part feminist revolution, part unorthodox romance, part musical, part detective story, part gangster flick. It is just so many things, and never is there a moment where the film can actually draw a spotlight on even one of them at any given moment to give it its own due. I appreciate that when you are able to strip the film back, a lot of it is about the bride understanding who she is. But it's less to do with the character, and more so, I would say, that the film is the one having a serious identity crisis. But that isn't to say that I think that The Bride is a bad film. Conceptually, I honestly think that they had the makings of a really unique take on a classic monster tale here. Jessie Buckley is working her arse off in the role. This is the sort of performance that if the right actor hadn't been selected, they would have driven the film into the dirt. Luckily, Buckley's sense of ferocity and capability to take such a character with so many moving cogs means that she is in control of that character the entire time. I will also add that much of Buckley's performance and character has not been revealed in the marketing, so buckle up. Christian Bale is the sort of actor who's never bad, but I do think his performance only scratches the surface as to what makes Frankenstein's monster such a compelling character. Peter Sarsgaard and Penélope Cruz are stuck in undeserving, underwritten roles that didn't really need to be in the film, and Jake Gyllenhaal is clearly having fun as a movie star of old, but he's not really in the film a great deal. Another comment that I want to make is Gyllenhaal's overall use of IMAX in the film. Select sequences were shot with IMAX cameras, and there are a couple times when I watched it in an IMAX screen where you get that full expanded ratio. And I will say, some of the transitions really, really worked. She made use of that IMAX ratio very, very well. Occasionally. There were other points where you have the IMAX ratio flitting in the middle of a scene, and it is so distracting where you could be having a dialogue between two characters, and one character is framed in the IMAX ratio and the other isn't, and you cut back to that character and they're back to a normal ratio, and then we're back to an IMAX ratio for that other character. It speaks to a larger point of how I think at this stage in her filmmaking career, I don't think this was the right project for Maggie Gyllenhaal to take on. She's still finding herself as to what her voice is as a filmmaker, and this was perhaps too big of a project for her to tackle. There's a good amount to appreciate in The Bride, and I am far from some of the critics calling it the worst movie of the year. Buckley is sensational, and arguably if it weren't for her, my opinions on the film would be significantly less favourable. I admired some of these stranger narrative options and could absolutely see the potential. However, the film buckles under its own sense of strain. The direction simply isn't up to par, and what we're left with is a 2-hour loud and noisy feature that holds for applause at the end, despite it never coming. So I'm going to give The Bride a 5.5 out of 10. Anyway, guys, those were my thoughts on The Bride. Let me know, have you had the chance to see the film yet? What did you think? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. And my question to you, we have had so many different incarnations to play Frankenstein's monster as well as the Bride of Frankenstein. So, of all the different actors who have played these iconic characters, who is your favorite? But that is all the time we have for today, so thank you very much for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Hello, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have, make sure to click that like button, and if you aren't already, click that subscribe button too.